this half hour, we'll be featuring yet another East Village legend in his own right, Joey Zero. He's a cable TV producer as well as a mover and shaker in the music scene downtown. Joey's contribution is not to be underestimated. F-Sharp TV covered Joey Zero's tribute to Johnny Thunders at CBGB's. It was the remembrance of the 10th year anniversary. Many great bands played that night, and we'll show you a few, starting with Allison Gordy, who joins us to sing one of Johnny's most popular songs, and look for the special guest who comes down to join her. Also, we'll hear from Joy Ryder and the New York Rhythm All-Stars, who grabbed the crowd for one of Johnny's favorites. But don't miss Lenny Kaye's musical storytelling of his memories of Johnny Thunders. It's great stuff.
He plays everything. You see Joey all over town with the camera bigger than he is. Here he is, Joey's here.
Yeah, Joey! Yeah, Johnny! And Joey!
Joey's microphone shot. All right, that's you know, a moment of rock and roll noise for our dearly departed Johnny Thunders and Joey Ramone. Let them hear us up in heaven. Shit, you can't even hear that in hell. Let's hear it up in heaven.
I have a message too. I got a call this afternoon from Johnny's sister, Marianne, and she wanted to be here, but her husband wasn't feeling too good. But she really wanted me to say thank you to everybody, the bands. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Hilly. Thank you, Joey Zero, for putting it together. And it really means a lot to her. So Marianne sends her love to everybody here.
Doesn't pay to try. All the smart boys know that. Doesn't mean I didn't try. I just never know why. Feel supporting all alone. Baby, you're not at home. And when I'm old, big deal, I'm still alone. I am. Beat my head against a wall. Try to knock some sense down my bone. And even though they don't show, the scars are so old. And when they go, you know, you can't put your arm around a memory. You can't put your arm around a memory. You can't put your arm around a memory. Try. You just cry. Just a bastard kid. You got no head. Memphis 5.
Susan Mitchell on the violin. Thank you so much. Stick around, there's some wonderful people coming up.
Anytime with Johnny. Give it up for Joy Ryder and the New York Rhythm All-Stars.
Joey told me he wanted us to do some of Johnny's favorites. Here's one he was working up. All right. Yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2.
I'm so excited because I'm sitting here with Joey Zero. Joey, thank you for being here and for all that you do, first of all, okay, because you have this dedication to the history of rock and roll, in particular the stuff that came out of Max's Kansas City and the people, and even still today, you take it all the way into today, that great stuff that happened then, that you were a part of and around, and you bring it here into today. And first of all, I'm really happy about that. But like, for example...
You're so kind.
No, it's true. I mean, you have a lot of your own opinion of your interpretation of the way it was then, say at Max's or around that time in CBGB's and stuff. So what I'm wondering is, say with Johnny Thunders, for example, I'm just trying to give a tribute, just like you did, to your show, and we're looking at shots of that show. And first of all, why did you have that? Why were you so dedicated to do that for Johnny? 10 years after his death, to have that type of celebration.
Well, in the first place, I miss Johnny a lot, and we've all gone through, pretty tough times, the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and even now, and a lot of the education, like the kids, they always look up to people, and they kind of follow a lot of things, for better or worse, and there were a lot of accidental, overdoses and things, and a lot of unsolved questions about, why people die, how they died,
relating to drug overdoses and things like that, because that affair, that event that you had at CBGB's raised a lot of money for
that's what
drug
I decided
needle
to, instead of just
program.
doing something, actually the inspiration thing started with Wowsville Record Store, the kid that owns it, Alberto and his wife Sonia. They wanted to do a Johnny Thunder contest, look-alike contest.
Oh.
And I thought, it's funny, but they wanted to get like these look-alike bands to do all like the Dolls, and I thought, like, there were all these kids like following, like they want to be like the Dolls, they want to be like the Dead Boys, like Stiff Baders, Cheetah Chrome, and sometimes for all the wrong reasons, because they're dead, or they made, in my opinion, the best punk rock ever, but there were a lot of things that they didn't know, like for instance, like Johnny Thunders wanted to live, and he was pretty successful at getting off of drugs from time to time. Going to like Sweden. He lived in Sweden for a while.
So you think this was unexpected that he died? Was it unexpected to you?
Yeah, he died in the middle of nowhere in New Orleans, and all his stuff was gone. apparently he was doing acid with a bunch of white trash people.
You mean you think there was some shady
Yeah, maybe he got ripped off. Maybe they slipped him a bad dose. He never was. He never died in New York.
Right.
But I mean, he lived a pretty tough life. But the thing is, I thought instead of doing like a look-alike contest thing, that we do something where it would help like the kids with problems, and the Needle Exchange Positive Health Project, so people wouldn't get AIDS. I think education is really important, just to kind of raise the awareness.
Yeah, and not only that, but also
and
to
his music.
Right, because I mean, what would you say? Okay, if we look back in the history books about Johnny Thunders, for example, what do you think he should be remembered for?
I think he should remembered for number one, like totally inspiring, like I guess all the artists that came after the Dolls.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of major bands, like, and you can go down the list from like Guns N' Roses to like, even U2 with the Ramones connection kind of thing. The Dolls were really first, and maybe around the same time. Then the Ramones came, and I think the story was even that the Dolls were wearing like Cons sneakers, and the Ramones were wearing like boots and kind of like hippie clothes.
Right.
And then they switched. Then the Dolls, it's funny, but that wasn't the music. The actual music was inspired, actually, like both of them, from all the music before that, and the rock and roll, great rock and roll. And that came before, like garage rock and things in the early '60s.
So what do you remember of his personality that gave him such this rich, talent?
I think, a lot of things, with artists, I'm not talking about like musicians, because it's easy, I guess, for, people like to practice every day, like the same chords, or like, a lead guitarist to, rehearse, like be a studio, a session guy. But like somebody who's really talented, and, I think Johnny was the first, like, to really have like the attitude, and could just play from his heart, and no matter what anybody said about him, or like, he's a terrible guitar player, or he's so messed up, he's so fucked up he couldn't play. He showed up at every gig I went to. He was there and he played, and he got through the songs. A little messed up sometimes. I used to, he wasn't always horizontal,
right?
but he played.
No, he had a huge contribution.
And his songs were like
he was magical,
unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely magical. So I mean, was there a favorite moment that you had together that you can remember, either earlier in the days, like your first impression? What was your first impression, or?
My first impression was that I loved every part of the Dolls, and just the different personalities within the band also. Jerry Nolan on drums, everything I had known before that, like Keith Moon and The Who, the Beatles, with Jerry Nolan and Johnny writing the songs. I really felt like the Beatles, like John Lennon, McCartney,
Right.
It was this new team of songwriters. And actually, I was talking to Peter Crowley years ago about, I think they listed their names in a way that you wouldn't really know who wrote the song. It was like both of them.
Right.
But you can tell which songs were more about girls and like love songs, and which songs were more like just great rock and roll songs, like the ones that Jerry wrote. But and just that, how fascinating today that the kids that you would never know walking around the East Village, that they're so young, that they love the Dolls, they love Johnny Thunders. And their hair, you see all these kid lookalikes with the big hair and the same guitars, the Gibson guitars.
To think it came from one band and one guy, and it's pretty fascinating. And so that makes me like, what happened that he didn't get the financial recognition that he should have? He wanted it. I mean, you could see in his interviews in the 80s and things that, he was mad that he wasn't getting the recognition. Like a Kiss, look what happened to Kiss. They became huge, and he didn't get any of that.
I think they totally inspired Kiss.
Totally inspired Kiss, absolutely. Kiss opened for them. I mean, I
think the story with them, they were afraid, I think bands going on tour with them, because they were showing them up.
Yeah, I guess so. But tell me something else now. You have your show, Time Takes a Cigarette, right? And how long have you been producing that?
It's over 10 years.
Over 10
You know,
years, wow.
since when they were on 23rd Street.
Well, congratulations. Wow, that's fantastic, because that's a lot of hard work, too. But you have this real dedication beyond the rock and roll, you know? I mean, tell us...
Well, it's really because I pretty much grew up in it, you know, in the East Village and going to the Fillmore and Max's when I was underage. The Electric Circus, having to go to Times Square to get fake ID, you know, and I was really very, very young, and I didn't even know back then the names of the bands or, like, you know, the records that were out. People would just tell me or drag me to shows, and I was just like this little kid with, you know, my mouth open or like drooling, you know, when I see these phenomenal guitar players. Or, you know, I remember seeing like Duane Allman, you know, with the Allman Brothers and Johnny Winter, way before everybody else was seeing them. And then I would go and actually get, you know, the records. Actually, I have a quick story. I met Bill Graham way back then because I had brought a tape recorder in. And I had to leave it there, and I came back at the end of the show to get my tape recorder, and it was his office. And he's like, "What were you thinking?" You know? And I'm like, "You know, I just wanted to tape the music, you know." And he's like, "You know, people bootleg that stuff, you know." And I never knew, I didn't know about that. And I go, "Well, you know, Johnny Winter, man, you know, I just want," and then he bought me an ice cream cone. Like, he was really nice to me. He's like, "Don't bring the tape recorder back," you know.
That's a great story.
Yeah, and so really from an early age, I was like running away, going to these clubs, you know, and I was a musician. You know, I played accordion, keyboards, and guitar.
Oh, yeah?
And, you know, I was more, back then I was more like Von Elmo, like real noise, loud.
Joe, you're pretty good. I tell you, we have you on tape.
Well, thanks. I remember that.
Yeah,
that was the Johnny show. That was the other
right.
gift of like being able, after 10 years, like to do a show for Johnny and actually, you know, coming back and playing, you know, because I hadn't played anywhere for like 10 years.
Well, I think it's
Video
great.
is hard. You have your own show.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of work of it. But, you know, I just think that's really great that you took that energy and time and effort and put it into Johnny, who totally deserved a 10-year recognition, you know, and also to the Needle program, you know, to help other people.
We did raise like, I think $4,000 or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, I think it's really important because, you know, when I was growing up, actually I was going to bring up earlier, the kids just didn't know, you know, that they didn't have to use drugs or that there's another way to live, or if they're going to use drugs, how to use them safely and not, you know,
right.
end up with all kinds of problems.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I noticed that you have this great appreciation for, you know, either really good music or good art, but it's deeper. It's you know, and that I think is a great thing because, you know, I don't know, I'm not sure that today's youth really understands and knows how to appreciate real fine art because they're being fed all this, you know, mainstream, you know, culture. Yeah, it's not anything, you know, like the original and where art comes from. I'm afraid that they might not know how, you know, about where art comes from and good art and.
So
but I just want to say, Joey, you know, power to you. We're watching you. You know, I know I'm watching to see what you're gonna do next because I really
enjoy
you
guys
all the things you do. I do.
And Amy. Make you fuse.
All right, that's right, that's right. Thanks, Joey.
Let me tell you about my lady. You know, she come around. She's about 5 feet 4, from my head to the ground. And she comes around here. She wants to meet Johnny Thunders. Let me tell you a little tale about Johnny Thunders. He comes from the quaint borough of Queens, New York. Funny about that, because that's
That's where another great New York rocker comes from. His name is Joey Ramone. And I have to say that I lived in Queens from the time I was 1 year old to when I was 8 years old. So that makes me a Queens rocker too. You know, Johnny Thunders believed in the healing power of rock and roll. He came to New York. He hung out at a place on Bleecker Street called Nobody. You know, everybody can play this song. This is the national anthem of punk rock. Johnny Thunders got a group together. He called it the New York Dolls. He spiked up his hair. You know, I was going to spike my hair tonight, but I just didn't have time. He put on those platform shoes. Wow, they couldn't tell if he was a boy or a girl. And he wasn't. But one thing about Johnny, he just loved the Shangri-La. Give him a great big kiss. I'm a lonely bad boy, you know what I'm gonna song. I'm a lonely bad boy.
We're making a little like collage for the show.
New York Dolls were the first New York rock band of the 1970s. You know, I think it's hard for everybody to believe when there's 6 bands a night on this stage and there's 6 bands a night up at Continental and they're all over the place, that there was a time when there was none rock and roll bands in New York. After the Velvet Underground broke up. None, no place to go. And then the New York Dolls came and they went over this joint on Broadway called the Mercer Street Arts Center. And they played. Hey girl, what you trying to do? Hey girl, what you trying to do? And then when CBGB's happened, the Heartbreakers. Who remembers the Heartbreakers? Come on. I'm living on a Chinese rock. All my best things are in hot. I'm living on a Chinese rock. Everything else in the pawn shop. Born to lose. We're born to lose. Born to lose. You know, it's really hard for me to believe that Johnny Thunders has been gone for 10 years. But he's not really gone. Because there's plenty of crazy kids out there who want to plug in to this shit up here. And play those 3 chords. 3, count them. 1, 2.
Sharp TV hopes this series has brought you closer to really knowing the magical music man, Johnny Thunders, who inspired a generation.